the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape.
Hey, welcome back, horror fans, to another new season of Real Talk Horror Edition. I'm your host, Josh, and I couldn't be more excited to have you join me as we plunge headfirst into the eerie, the shocking, and the delightfully absurd world of horror cinema. This season, I'm dialing up the dread, cranking the attention to 11, and unearthing films that'll make your heart race and your imagination run wild. We've got a pretty great lineup this time around. From films that'll make you question the shadows in your room and maybe even your sanity, to cult classics that redefine the genre and controversial shockers that had audiences clutching their pearls. I'm going to try to cover it all. Expect surreal nightmares that blur the line between dreams and reality. Laughably bad gems that you can't just look away from, and everything in between. Seriously, folks, this season is packed with more twists and chills than a haunted house on Halloween night. So here's the plan. Over the next dozen episodes, I hope to take you on a journey through 12 horror films, each one offering a unique flavor of fear. Some have left permanent scars on the face of horror history, while others, well, let's just say they've earned their place in the So Bad It's Good Hall of Fame. Whether these movies shocked the world, built a loyal cult following, or simply left us scratching our heads, there's plenty to unpack, discuss, and, dare I say, enjoy. And don't worry, this isn't going to be a dry academic breakdown of horror films. No, I just want to share my honest reactions and a few guilty pleasures along the way. I'm going to go through, we'll dissect the scares, we're going to talk about the film, we're going to look at the background and context, we'll break down the plot, we'll talk about some standout scenes, and then I will rate just what I truly think of the film. Not our typical deep dives, just a chance to dissect scares, appreciate the artistry, and just have some fun as we explore what makes horror such an endlessly fascinating genre. So I want you to grab a big bowl of popcorn, extra butter, because let's face it, you'll need some comfort food for what's coming. Maybe keep a blanket nearby as well. Not just to hide under during the creepy parts, but also to recover from the bad ones. Because trust me, we've got some wonderfully awful moments ahead. Get ready, horror lovers. It's going to be a wild ride. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll take a sneak peek at what's lurking in the shadows this season on Real Talk Horror Edition. So let's kick things off with a dive into the weird and wonderful world of cult classic and cosmic horror. Films that have a unique way of sticking with you, whether you're laughing, screaming, or scratching your head wondering, what did I just watch? Take The Stuff, for example. On the surface, it's about this delicious, addictive dessert that turns out to be not so great for your health. Think killer yogurt meets satire on consumerism. But beneath all the campy goodness, there's something truly unsettling. It's funny, creepy, and absurd all at once, making it the sort of perfect midnight movie to watch with friends who enjoy yelling at the screen. Then there's Phantasm, a movie that feels like stepping into a lucid dream, only it's a nightmare you can't quite escape. You've got the iconic tall man, his creepy silver spheres, and the eerie sense of dread that never lets up. It's one of those horror films that doesn't bother explaining everything, and that's what makes it so effective. You're left wondering if the real horror is what's on screen or what your imagination is filling in the gaps with. And speaking of nightmares, The Beyond kicks things up a notch. Directed by Italian horror legend Lucio Fulci, it's packed with gore, surreal images, and a haunting atmosphere that doesn't quit. Now this movie feels like a fever dream. Every time you think you've got a grip on the plot, it throws something totally bonkers your way. Trust me, you're not watching this one for a tidy narrative. You're here for the vibes, the visuals, and the sheer audacity of it all. And then we have The Void. If you're into cosmic horror, the kind that whispers, there are things in the universe you're not meant to understand, this one's for you. Picture this: a small town hospital, a group of strangers trapped inside, and terrifying creatures lurking outside. Add in some gooey, visceral practical effects that would make any 80s horror proud, and you've got a recipe for sleepless nights. It's dark, intense, and beautifully chaotic, with just enough Lovecraftian dread to leave you questioning your place in the cosmos. So if you love movies that balance the absurd with the horrifying, these are for you. They're not just scary, they're experiences. Whether you're laughing at the over-the-top moments or hiding behind a pillow during the scares, one thing is for sure: these films stick with you. Just don't blame me if you find yourself checking the fridge for rogue desserts or eyeing silver spears with suspicion. Segment 2. Buckle up, because we're going to step into darker, more twisted side of horror. The kind of films that don't just want to scare you, they want to leave you reeling. Let's talk about two infamous titles: Cannibal Holocaust and Maniac. These are not your casual Friday night popcorn flicks. These are the ones that dared to push the envelope so far it fell off the table and straight into the abyss. First, Cannibal Holocaust. Even if you've never seen it, chances are you've heard the name. Released in 1980, this film didn't just spark controversy, it ignited a firestorm. It's known for its brutal realism, so much so that the director, Ruggero Deodato, was dragged into court because authorities thought he had actually killed his actors on camera. Yes, you heard that right. He had to prove in court that his cast was alive and well. If that's not a testament to how convincing or disturbing this film is, I don't know what is. But here's the thing. While some call it a pioneering work of shock cinema, others see it as exploitative garbage. It's brutal, graphic, and honestly, it's uncomfortable to watch. It raises questions about how far filmmakers should go in the name of art. Does the line between realism and morality get too blurry? It's definitely a movie that leaves you thinking, but probably also leaves you a little nauseous. Now, shifting gears, but not really, we have Maniac, released the same year, where Cannibal Holocaust was set in the jungles and dealt with cultural exploitation. Maniac takes you to the grimy streets of New York City, into the mind of a deeply disturbed individual. This film is a character study of a serial killer, played with terrifying authenticity by Joe Spinell. If Cannibal Holocaust shocks you with its setting and concept, Maniac disturbs you by getting way too close to the horrors of the human mind. This movie didn't just ruffle feathers, it plucked the whole stinking bird. Critics hated it, calling it disgusting and misogynistic, while others argued it was a brutally honest portrayal of mental illness and trauma. Spinell's performance is magnetic in that most unsettling way possible. The film forces you to sit with the ugly, the grim, and the unflinching reality of what someone like this could look like. And that makes it polarizing. The question with both of these films is, do they deserve their notoriety? Are they masterful examples of horror pushing boundaries, or are they simply shocking for the sake of shock? For me, they live in this strange gray area. They're horrifying, yes, but they also force conversations about art, censorship, and how much is too much. And honestly, isn't sparking that kind of dialogue part of what makes horror so powerful? So whether you love them, hate them, or want to avoid them altogether, one thing is certain: Cannibal Holocaust and Maniac are movies you don't forget. And truly, isn't that what horror is all about? And then we'll talk about a different flavor of horror, the kind that blends revenge, satire, and a healthy dose of surrealism. If you like your scares served with a splash of "what did I just watch" and a side of poetic justice, then you're in for a treat. We're going to dive into a couple of films that go into this area. First with Mandy, and then Teeth. First up, Mandy. This one's for the bold viewers who love a film that doesn't just show you horror, it drags you through a blood-soaked, neon-drenched fever dream and dares you to keep up. Nicolas Cage stars in what might just be his most unhinged performance yet, and let's be honest, that is saying something. Cage plays Red, a man on a relentless, rage-fueled quest for vengeance after a cult destroys the life he and his partner Mandy had built together. The film is pure sensory overload, with trippy visuals, haunting music, and moments that'll stick in your mind. It's part revenge thriller, part psychedelic nightmare, but it's 100% unforgettable. If you've ever wondered what it would feel like to step inside a heavy metal album cover, Mandy is your answer. Now, let's switch gears and talk about Teeth, a movie that takes horror and flips it on its head. While making you laugh nervously and maybe cross your legs a little, this darkly comedic gem centers on Dawn, a sweet, seemingly innocent teen who discovers she has a rather unique anatomical trait. Teeth where you wouldn't expect them. Yes, those kinds of teeth. Without spoiling too much, let's just say Dawn learns to wield her condition as a tool for justice, and sometimes revenge, against those who deserve it the most. Teeth is a wild blend of body horror and satire that tackles themes of consent, empowerment, and the awkwardness of growing up in a way that's as thought-provoking as it is entertaining. It's the kind of movie that makes you laugh, cringe, and cheer all at the same time. So whether you're into the visual madness and of Mandy or the sharp humor, pun intended, of Teeth, these films show that horror doesn't have to stick to the same formula. They're weird, wild, and they leave you with plenty to think and talk about. Alright, then folk horror and final twists. And let's talk about The Wicker Man. For me, the crown jewel of folk horror. If you haven't seen it, buckle up, because this is an experience. Imagine this idyllic, sunlit island where everything seems fine, picturesque, friendly locals, lots of folk music. But there's this underlying unease that grows and grows. It's the kind of story that gets under your skin, and before you know it, you are in way over your head, just like our protagonist is, Sergeant Howie. This is a masterclass in slow building dread and tension. And then, the ending. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't watched it, but let's just say it's one of those moments where your jaw hits the floor and you sit there in stunned silence as the credits begin to roll. It's haunting, it's poetic, and it's the kind of twist that sticks with you. You remember the first time you watched The Wicker Man. Folk horror doesn't get more iconic than this. But maybe folk horror is not your thing. Maybe you're here for the slasher movies, the campy kills, and those twists that make you gasp out loud. In that case, we have to talk about Sleepaway Camp. Now, this is a film that's earned its place in horror history for one reason: that final reveal. The whole movie builds like your typical summer camp slasher. Campfires, mean kids, mysterious murders. And then the last few minutes hit, and it's like the rug is pulled right out from under you. It's shocking, it's bizarre, and it's the reason people are still dissecting this movie decades later. But what's fascinating about Sleepaway Camp is how divisive that twist is. Some people see it as a stroke of genius, this unforgettable, reality warping moment that flips the whole story on its head. Others criticize it, seeing it through a modern lens and questioning its impact. Either way, it's a prime example of how horror, at its best, pushes boundaries and leaves you thinking, or at least shouting at your screen. So whether you're into the eerie folk traditions of The Wicker Man or the shocking can't look away twist of Sleepaway Camp, these films prove one thing: a great ending can make a horror movie unforgettable. And let's dive into what makes these final moments work so well and why they keep us talking long after the scares are over. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about segment 5, the so bad it's good kind of horror. Alright, and then let's take a detour into a magical realm where cinematic disasters become cult treasures. Yes, I'm talking about Troll 2, widely celebrated, maybe ridiculed, as the worst movie ever made. If you've never heard of it, well, it's an experience like no other. First of all, let's address the title. Troll 2. There are no trolls. Not a single one. Instead, the villains are goblins. Yes, goblins, and they live in a town called Nilbog, which, spoiler alert, just goblin spelled backward. That gives you a pretty good idea of the level of subtlety we're working with here. The plot is more a suggestion than a story. It involves a family going on vacation to Nilbog, where they're targeted by goblins who want to turn them into plants so they can eat them. Because goblins are vegetarians, naturally. That makes total sense. But the real magic of Troll 2 isn't the plot or the lack of one. It's in the execution. Every scene feels like it's teetering on the edge of complete chaos. The dialogue is so awkward. It's like it was written by an alien trying to mimic human speech. And the acting is so over the top and so earnestly bad that you can't help but love it. Take the infamous "Oh my God" scene. If you have seen this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, just look it up, you'll thank me later. This is one of those moments that is so hilariously terrible, it's become iconic. And yet, despite all its flaws, or maybe because of its flaws, Troll 2 has a charm that's hard to deny. It's the kind of movie that brings people together. Fans host midnight screenings complete with costumes, reenactments, and plenty of laughs. There's even an amazingly well done documentary about it. It's called The Best Worst Movie. So is Troll 2 really as bad as everyone says? Oh, absolutely. But is it ridiculously fun to watch? Without a doubt. It's a reminder that sometimes a movie doesn't need to be good to be great. Grab some popcorn, preferably the kind covered in green goblin goo, and join us when we dive into the glorious and disastrous world of Troll 2. I don't think you'll regret it. Maybe you will, but either way, you'll never forget it. Well, there you have it, folks. We're going to dive into these films. We're going to look at them. I'm going to talk about what I think, and just so that you get another sense of what's been on my radar as I've been going deep dives into John Carpenter and psychological horror and the films of Rob Zombie. I still watch movies for fun, and these are the movies that I watched. Real quick, I don't want to hit us all at once and make things difficult to watch as we go. So here's the order of the films in this season. First, we'll start with The Stuff. Follow it up with Cannibal Holocaust. Then we'll watch Mandy. Following Mandy with the Italian horror classic The Beyond. After The Beyond, we'll go to one of my favorites, the surreal horror Phantasm. Followed by the campy cinematic twist of Sleepaway Camp. And then a film I didn't really talk about here, but one that I watched and just absolutely love, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, followed by the ridiculous Troll 2, and then the Lovecraftian horror of The Void, and then we'll get into Joe Spinell and Maniac, and then we'll get darkly comedic with The Teeth, and then we'll finish it up with one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, The Wicker Man. So, I wanted to hear, when we're done, after each episode, I want you to come find me online at Real Talk on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, at Real Talk Pod on Twitter, therealrealtalk@gmail.com for the email. And share your thoughts. Share the movies you're watching. Let's keep this going. Let's talk about these things. And because here's the thing, this show isn't just about what I think, because it's about you too. I want your opinions, your hot takes, your all-time favorites. I want to hear them. So if there's a film you're dying to hear me cover, or one you think deserves a special shout out for its sheer audacity, don't hold back. Let me know. Slide into those DMs on social media. Leave a comment wherever you're listening. Who knows? Your pick might just make its way into an upcoming episode, complete with your shout out. And if it takes me deep enough, gets in my mind enough, maybe we'll do a whole series on that style of horror. And if you're not already subscribed, now's the perfect time to hit that button. Seriously, go ahead, I'll wait. There. Now you're locked in for all the scares, the laughs, and debates, and what really makes horror great. But until next time, friends, remember to keep it spooky, but stay safe. And as always, keep it real. Oh, one last thing before you go. Next episode, just a quick reminder, we're going to dive headfirst into that cult classic that's equal parts horrifying and hilarious. You're not going to want to miss my take on The Stuff. Yep, the yogurt from hell. It's as weird as it sounds, and it's worth the watch. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to talk to you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Creeping through the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape. Shadows play a twisted game. Fear and terror stake their claim. Footsteps follow close behind. Haunting thoughts invade your mind. Run away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll always stay. Windows rattle, doors they creak. Ghostly whispers start to speak. Every corner hides a fear. Close your eyes, they're drawing near. Candles flicker, spirits call. In the night they'll take it all. Midnight strikes, the clocks rewind. Nightmares now are intertwined.